Moi, je travaille avec des faits.
I work with facts. I have a police organization, and we often face events that are completely unforeseen. On Friday, the SPVM announced a detailed plan of its 2025 multi-million-dollar budget, and some community groups aren't happy. They say it's money that could be put to better use elsewhere in order to meet the needs of Montrealers.
The message we're hoping to send is to stop increasing the budget of the SPVM and start taking that money and investing it in community-based organizations that actually already do all these kinds of work and are just trying to answer some of the social need of the most marginalized people around us.
The SPVM is already over budget for 2024, and the new budget for 2025 is $824 million, $3 million more than what was allocated for this year. But the current budget had been readjusted to $826 million earlier this year, knowing that they would spend more due to unforeseen costs. For example, since October 7, 2023, the start of the Israel-Hamas war, chief of the SPVM, Fadi Daguerre, says there were up to 500 protests related to the conflict. Just in demonstrations, encampments, visibility plans, $8.9 million, all in overtime because we had to grant increased visibility to secure both parties and the populations shown. Just with the Square Victoria and McGill encampments, we have just passed $500,000, so you see how quickly it mounts. It is not because the SPVM wanted to spend, it is because the SPVM is dependent on unforeseen events, and so we have to respond to the response. And yes, it costs overtime. And yes, it leads us to a deficit. Community groups were outside City Hall on Friday to voice how they would rather see the SPVM's budget spent.
We have a big housing crisis right now. We can see the symptom of this with the encampment. We can think of Rue Notre Dame, but there's many other encampments in the city. And of course, this is a social need. This is not a need for more security. So I think a lot of the money that we invest in the SPVM and that we invested in the past year in the SPVM could go through this. Or arm reduction also. We know that we are struggling with arm reduction and the quality of the drugs on the streets. So we need to do better for those people.
The opposition at City Hall, Ensemble Montreal, is calling on the Plante administration to fulfill its commitment to fund the deployment of body cameras for the SPVM. They plan to submit a budget amendment for this.
So the question that I have is this administration fulfilling the promises only for the militant base that is going to vote in 2025? Or is this administration actually doing the necessary work to ensure the safety and security of Montrealers? And that question, I think, is going to be answered when we're going to see the reaction that the administration is going to have to the amendment that we're going to propose next week.
In Montreal, Adriana Gentile, City News.